I believe that covers most of the major items. So any questions from anybody, and that could include you at this point. I'm going to take reps first, so Handy, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker, and I appreciate hearing that you guys have done it, especially through those things. I think the pink pad, so to speak, I think that was a great thing, and I think it's a good matchup with our neighbors, and especially the pre-K finding some extra money for that, I think is great to hear. One thing I was concerned about was the Nonviolence Institute's grant that I saw was taken out of the budget, and I know that was more of a House lead on that in the past, and I was wondering, because it's such a big chunk of it and it's matched pretty effectively with other grant monies, and in fact I think they use a lot to get a lot more staff than we probably could with the same kind of program. I know it's a nationally recognized program. So.
Yeah, well, at some point we're always reassessing our needs. Libraries came in and they really were making a push for additional funding, and so we looked at the grants. We actually have a limited number of grants out there right now for non-state agencies. I haven't heard much from the Nonviolence Institute in terms of work product. The sense is that it's going to administrative costs and not necessarily being spent on active work of that. And if you're not seeing the work product, it's not a state agency. They're not going to get the money forever, and libraries need additional money. So in a very difficult budget where we were moving monies around, libraries won this time. Representative Almeida.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, to the gentleman on both sides, I'm here about the nonviolence resolution. I don't know if you know, the Institute for Nonviolence, they have already laid off some people. So we don't have as much footwork out there as you think. They've been laid off. One of the gentlemen over there is doing more than one job. So they're doing what they've always done. $200 is what they've always asked for, and it has never increased. So what they've always done was rearrange the amount of people working there so they can deal with the same amount of money. Well, let me tell you about the Institute. Yes, it's our province, and I'm glad of that. But the fact is, the Institute does not just serve the city of Providence. It serves Cumberland. It serves Kentucky, it serves Paul. It serves Cranston. It serves a lot of different agencies. Now, for us to cut back that money, are we saying that crime has gone down? No. But when it comes to saving people's lives, by the way, when my little girls were young, and somebody asked them, what's your dad do for a living? They would always answer, he saves lives for a living. Well, that's what the Nonviolence Institute does. They save lives. And did you know that some of those graduates didn't just leave with a GED, didn't even just leave with an associate, but there are a few who left with a bachelor's degree. And some of those young men and women have ended up in the construction field because of the Nonviolence Institute. So there's got to be a time in life where you just can't keep cutting back for people who need help. It's not about the province, and it's surely not about the South Side. Lord, I'm proud of that. But the fact is, all the urban areas do benefit from that. Did you know, I wish it was more council there, but did you know that Providence, being the capital of the city, a lot of people come to Providence who are not from Providence, who let their hair down, act the fool, and go back to wherever they came from. So the Institute is fighting that as well. I mean, we fought, and we're still fighting, but not as much, organized crime. We fought drugs, we fought everything that's coming about. But there's a new type of organized crime. There's a new type of issue that needs to be addressed. There's a better way that can be used than we go after. After all these gangs are here, and they're not just in Providence. I ask you, Mr. Speaker, to really consider bringing that $200 back to not the city of Providence, but to the families that go there. We understand that there may be issues that may be going about. Yeah, the library needs this library. I ain't worried about the library. I'm worried about the Institute to save young people's lives, men and women. Oh, did you know that women population has to grow. Doesn't that bother you a little bit? Bothers me a lot. So all I'm saying to you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman of Finance, that you look at this H2 of nonviolence.
We will look at it again. I don't know that we have the resources. A lot of what you're calling for, that's the work of the police department. They didn't have this grant more than 2 years ago. This is a relatively new grant, and you always have to assess. Just because they got a grant 2 years ago that was funded again last year doesn't mean it's going to last forever and ever. There are other needs in the community. I'm not sure what the Nonviolence Institute has done except hire more people for administrative purposes. So, I mean, for right now, I appreciate your advocacy, but we have a budget that's very, very, very tight. Providence Police does a phenomenal job, and, you know, this is not a state agency. If it was a state agency, we would look at it different. It's not a state agency. They're not going to get funded forever. None of these groups should or do. You should always look at them and reassess whether you should continue to fund them. Not a lot of non-state agencies are getting funded today. The community service grants were cut way back, and with limited resources and all-year deficits, you have to reassess. So we'll take a look, but right now that 200,000 probably does not exist.
Then let me address this.
Probably doesn't exist, and you know, you may not care about libraries, but a lot of people do. So in light of the balance, it seemed like.
That's what I'm concerned about. But the fact is, there's a lot of chiefs that sit on that board. We know we got problems sitting on that. Wait a minute. We got problems sitting on that board. We got other departments that are very concerned about this $200,000, and they do work. The police department, forget it. But police departments overall, we need a new way to reach out to these young people. And the way to do it is through the nonviolent. And if the cops are looking into that, your wife can't wait.
Thank you.